You're listening to the Trailblazers Podcast, episode 30 with Cornell Thomas.
You're listening to the Trailblazers Podcast, where we will explore the stories of successful Black professionals. Join us as we highlight the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished trailblazers to help provide the know-how, confidence, and motivation you need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen Hart.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Trailblazers Podcast. Today, we're talking with Cornell Thomas. Cornell and I met through a mutual friend, Amy J, this summer. And, as we began talking and he was sharing his story with me, I felt this immediate draw to his vision and his mission. When you meet someone for the first time and you guys just end up talking for a long time. We are kindred spirits. We're entrepreneurs, both reaching for big dreams and determined to bring a ton of positive into the world. Cornell is an author, speaker, and coach who thought that his purpose in life was to play professional basketball. Well, finally received a contract to play professional basketball in Portugal, a dream he had from he was a young kid, but a couple weeks before he was actually supposed to leave for Portugal, he suffered a career-ending injury. And that led to his real purpose in life. In 2010, Cornell decided he wanted to start a new movement, and he began writing motivational quotes. Those quotes eventually led to him writing a blog. That blog led to him writing his first book, Power of Positivity, Controlling Where the Ball Bounces. In 2011, Cornell realized his true purpose, and that was to inspire and motivate others. He's spoken all over the United States, sharing his story with people from all walks of life. And Cornell really dares us to say, what now, instead of why me, when we find ourselves faced with adversity. Trailblazers, I know today's interview is sure to inspire and motivate you. So without further delay, here is Cornell Thomas. Cornell, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on it.
Your story is amazing, right? You shared a little bit about, your desire to play basketball professionally.
Yeah.
Man, what a cliffhanger, being able to realize that dream and have it taken away from you right before you realized the ability to play. It was in Portugal?
Yes, in Lisbon, yeah.
And so you shared that, that injury, career-ending injury happened back in 2003. Mm-hmm. And your story picks up to 2010 when you began this movement that we're going to talk about here in a minute. Before we get going, I'd love you to kind of talk to me about what happened during that dash, right? What happened between 03 and 2010? What was that valley like?
Yeah, well, it was very tough when I first got injured because, like you said, everything from 16 years old to that point was just basketball. And my why was to make sure that my mom, Tina Thomas, I always say the great Tina Thomas, never had to work again. So I had such a powerful why and such a powerful purpose. When I got injured, it was just like my world as I knew it just shut down.
Devastating.
It was devastating. So I tell people all the time, I was in complete why me mode. When adversity happens to you, you curse the heavens, you curse everything. You're like, what is going on? And when I changed my mindset and thought about my mom and realized that she raised, 5 kids on her own with no money since I was 4, and just realized my mom was all about solutions. She wasn't about her problems.
Right.
So that's what the big shift for me is okay, this injury happened. Now what are you going to do? And so when I work myself back, it's funny, Stephen, you see these signs. The universe gives you these signs like you're not supposed to go down this route. You're supposed to go somewhere else.
Right.
And things just started popping up. I went to this camp in Alabama, this pro camp in Alabama, me and a really good friend of mine. And, there's some disgruntled participants that got kicked out of the camp, at the beginning of the week. So needless to say, at the end of the week, me and a good friend of mine walked out into the shuttle to go back to our hotel. When these guys came back in and they had handguns. And they, were shooting in the gym. And someone that was participating in the camp with dreams of playing professional basketball lost his life.
Wow.
And I was about 5 minutes away from that. So I started seeing these things that were like, dude, basketball is not for you. You just got to open your eyes and realize it. So I started coaching basketball. 2004, 2005, I got my first job coaching basketball at a junior college, Sussex County College, where I played basketball at. And this is before Coach Carter. And I was like that Coach Carter type person because I had second and third chance kids whose parents just dropped them off. Inner city kids, the parents dropped them off and said, hey, make my son into a man. I'll see you in 2 years. And,
wow.
And the problem is these kids were boys. They didn't realize, just like I didn't realize at that age what it took. And you got to go to class and you have to be a good teammate and you have to buy in. And that's what I was doing. I was just coaching basketball and, really mentoring young men. And then I opened a business, Crossroads Basketball, where I started training kids. And I started seeing these kids accomplish all these amazing goals and dreams that they had. And it kind of spoke to me that my real purpose on this earth is to serve others and help other people. It wasn't about me playing professional basketball.
Wow. So what was the transition from that to Power of Positivity?
Yeah. So it's funny. I'd say about 5 years ago, I was on Facebook and I'm going through my timeline. And if you want to be depressed, just look at your timeline. Like if you want to hate life, just take a minute and just read your timeline, especially right now. So
I tell you what, man, I'm almost deliberate right now to do what I need to do in social and get off.
I'm the same way.
For that reason. So I can't consume too much of it.
It's insane, Stephen.
It's almost needed self-care to not be in social right now.
It's insane. So I'm reading, for whatever reason, boredom, it was early in the morning, what have you. I'm reading my timeline, and it's just the same old negative rhetoric. Like, I hate my boyfriend. I hate my wife. Like, people are like, I hate my cat. I'm like, how the hell do you hate your cat? Like, what's happening? I said, you know what? I'm gonna start a new movement. I had this book of positive quotations. I said, every day, I'm going to wake up super early in the morning. I want to take a positive quote and put it on my timeline and see what happens. So I started doing it. And even the drama bombs, even the people who are the most negative people on my friend list started liking it. And one day, I lost the book. And I wrote my own quote. And people still liked it. So I'm like, screw the book. I'm just going to make my own quote. So I'm making my own quote every day. And about a couple of months went by, and a good friend of mine said, see, where do you get your quotes from? I said, well, I just make them up when I wake up. And he goes, dude, you should write a blog. I'm like, that's a great idea. What's a blog? That's an idea. And he goes, yeah, you just get on a WordPress site and blah, blah, blah. So we're sitting in Panera Bread. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to write a blog. Can you hook it up? And she got to WordPress, and I wrote my first blog, which is called Risk. And a couple months after that, I started seeing the response that it had, and saw the people from all over the country were checking up on them and looking for them every Saturday. So the same friend said, hey, what if you wrote a book? I said, well, how do you do that? She's like, oh, you can write it yourself. I said, okay. So I wrote my first book, The Power of Positivity, Controlling Where the Ball Bounces. And shortly after that, I just went on. I started just going out and speaking. First people I spoke in front of was 10 people.
Dude, you have to tell this story.
So before, when I say it to people all the time, you got to see it before, so you can be it.
Right.
So on my Twitter account, I had Cornell Thomas, and I put speaker. Now, unbeknownst to anybody else, the only speaking I've ever done beforehand was to kids that wore basketball shorts. I spoke at like a couple basketball camps.
Right.
So there's these guys, Dave and Troy, their brand is called Ula, and they were like, hey, would you write a guest blog for us? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And I wrote a guest blog, and we started talking. We had a really good, friendship. They're like, we're doing an event in Vegas. Would you come and speak? And before I even thought about it, I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Then they informed me that there's like 150 to 200 chiropractors, and it had to be a PowerPoint. I've done a PowerPoint since I was in high school. So I'm like, all right. So I fly out there. They have no idea that I've never really spoke before. This is like the first time. I do my speech. The speech went really well. These guys come run up to me after the speech. They give me this big hug. Like, man, how long have you been speaking for? And I was like, about 45 minutes. And they were just shocked. They were like, what? They're like, it was so natural. I said, well, this is my purpose. And I said, this is what I'm meant to do. So I didn't feel the nervousness I felt before I started opening my mouth. I said all that subsided once I started speaking. I realized at that moment on that stage in front of 200 doctors that I was supposed to do what I'm doing right now.
Dude, when you shared that was moving to me, man. What did your wife have to say about all this?
Well, my wife knows I'm crazy. She's known that for a very long time. She played college basketball where I did in North Dakota. So she'd be the one rebounding for me at 2:00 in the morning when I was dreaming of playing professional basketball. And now she's she just knows that my goal is really to make the world a better place and take action to do it. So she's just like, anything I tell her, she's just not surprised. She's like, okay, this guy's nuts. So when I told her I was going to Vegas, she was just like, what are you going to Vegas for? I said, I'm going to speak. And she goes, to who? I said, yeah, a bunch of chiropractors. And she just looked at me and like just shook her head and laughed and just walked away. Like she wasn't. I could have been like, yeah, I'm speaking in front of 200 unicorns. It wouldn't even have like, she wouldn't even have broke stride. She's like, okay, and she just kind of walked off like, this guy's nuts. There's a reason he's doing it, but this guy's nuts.
We're blessed men, Cornell.
Yes, I'm so thankful.
So tell me, you know, how long has Power of Positivity as a movement been in place?
It's been in place now going on 4 years.
4 years.
But it started, I really do think it started when probably my earliest memory of my mom saying everything happens for a reason.
Right.
Was I was about 5 years old. So my mom planted that seed when I was really young.
Right.
It's I think it happened way back then. It's just now I actually realize I have a direct path on what I'm going to do with it and how I'm going to shape that to help other people.
Right. So what has been the most amazing thing that's happened since you started the movement 4 years ago?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question.
I know a lot has happened.
Man, that's a good question.
What's been the most amazing thing?
Man, Stephen, I would tell you, there's been a lot of great things. I would say one of the most amazing things, and I'm not going to say her name because she's so humble and she'd kill me. So when I first wrote The Power of Positivity, I noticed that there was, a woman that was retweeting a lot of my tweets, a lot of my quotes. And I asked her, I said, hey, you know what? This is about 3 years ago. I said, do me a favor. Can you send me your mailing address? And she sent me her mailing address and it was in Vietnam. So
wow. I
was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this lady from Vietnam. So I told my wife, I was like, I'm sending her a book. I was like, she's unbelievable. She's always supporting me. She's always saying nice things. So I just sent her a book. My book's $11.50. I sent it out. And a week later, she does this big post about getting my book, and her husband love it, and, it's helped change their life. And this past summer, I have a to-do list in my computer, not a bucket list. Bucket list to me is a negative connotation. Like, what are you going to do before you die? Like, I don't want to think about that. Like, it's just a to-do list, like what I want to do. So one of the things I wrote is I want to meet Tony Robbins. He's one of the top guy in my profession. So I want to meet him and learn from him. So I get this message from this lady, and she goes, Cornell, let me ask you a question. If I paid for you to go to this Tony Robbins seminar in December, would you go?
Stop lying.
Even I can't make this up. So the first thing I do is I call my mom. And I said, Mom, if I was gone for 5 nights, could you help Melissa with the kids? Because before any of I want to make sure that I accumulate enough brownie points where I can actually go for 5 nights to this Date with Destiny thing in Florida. And so my mom goes, sure, baby, I do it in a second, no problem. So then I'm like, now it's time to call the wife. So I call my job. I said, hey, Melissa, just a quick question. I said, if my mom stayed for like 5 nights, would you be okay? And she goes, didn't you write in your to-do list you want to meet Tony Robbins? And I said, yeah. She goes, then shouldn't you go?
Right.
And she hit me with my own stuff, Stephen, and that like boggled my mind. It's okay. So I wrote back to this lady. I said, look, I don't want to put you out. She goes, as easy as it was for you to send me that book, that's how easy it is for me and my husband to send you through this. So I'm like blown away. So I say yes. 15 minutes later, I get a confirmation from...
Stop lying.
Stephen, 15 minutes. I get a confirmation from the Waldorf Astoria. Now, I knew that hotel because of Annie. That's the reason I knew what it was. The bill was like $3,500 paid for 6 nights, the hotel. And then I see the ticket prices for the Tony Robbins seminar, Date with Destiny. And we were in something called the Diamond Club. And that was another $10,000. So the $11.50 book that I sent came back $13,500 in terms of going to meet, Tony Robbins and experience Date with Destiny. And the first day I raised my hand, he called on me, and I had a 5-minute conversation with him about that story about me speaking for the first time. And I tell people all the time, I said, when you give without expectations, you get back exponentially. And just to understand that and know when you give from your heart and you don't want anything in return, it always comes back to you more. And it just blew me away. I still thank her. It happened in December. I thank her all the time now. I'm like, I can't believe that you blessed me with this, and I really appreciate it. But the gesture of sending this book just blew her away, and she wanted to return the favor.
Well, it's clear, Cornell, that the impact that you had over a period of time, you have no idea the power of your words. As episode 16, Sean Dove actually shared, a message about the power of the words that we have and impact it has on people.
Yes.
Right? You have no idea how much you might have had an impact with those daily quotations that might have lifted her and provided her the ability to earn whatever it was in multiples. To be able to return that to you. We have no idea what led to that point, right? But clearly it was nothing. The money wasn't a factor. She wanted to return something that was much more valuable, right, than just the money. So, man, that's an amazing story. I appreciate you sharing that one.
No problem. It blows me away.
I'm sure.
There's a Kanye verse where he said, people never get the flowers when they can still smell them.
Right.
And that reminds me of exactly what you just said. Is sometimes you don't know because maybe someone hasn't said, hey, you know what, Steven, this episode blew me away. And I get that sometimes. And I know you get it sometimes from Trailblazers and just who you are. People tell you how you've impacted them. But you're so right. You don't know how far your reach goes until someone actually sits you down and says, hey, you know what, this impacted me this way.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? You could have saved their marriage. You could have helped somebody, through any kind of issue, relationship, health, job. Like, just think of the impact of those words being able to change the course of life. Yeah, man. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear that. Do you think that, as we're talking about this, do you think most people today in general are unhappy with themselves and their lives?
Yeah, I think they are. And I think the reason that most people are unhappy is because they settle in life. And when you settle in life, I mean, it's funny that we were called settlers, in the beginning, because there are so many settlers that are all over this world. People settle in relationships. They settle in the workplace. They settle with just an average life. And they think that what we're supposed to do on this earth is just exist, consume, and die. And they don't realize that there's so much more out there for us if your mind is open to it. I feel that. Oh, I'm sorry, Steven, go ahead.
No. I'm just thinking, why are we minimizing our expectations and placing those limits on ourselves?
Yeah. Well, I think when you're little, right? When you're younger, it's crazy to think this way, but when you're younger, it's like a certain amount of almost like programming, right? Where you're taught, okay, well, go to school, Steven, and then, go to college. And after college, get your house with your 2.5 kids and white picket fence. Then work a job that's going to pay the bills and support your family.
For 30 years.
And then die. And that's it, and no one tells you when you're little, or not a lot of people tell you when you're little, hey, you know what, Steven, after high school, maybe you won't go to college. Maybe you'll open up your own business. Maybe you'll, join Habitat for Humanity. Maybe you'll do this, and maybe you won't have a white picket fence. Maybe you'll live off the land. Like, you're only given a couple of options, and there are so many more options out there for you. If you just open your mind to it. It's like when you buy a car for the first time. You see that darn car everywhere. Right? And you're like, I've never seen this freaking Mitsubishi Galant anywhere. And now I see it all over the place. It's the same thing when you open your mind up to do new possibilities. Opportunities fall out the sky. I mean, look how we met. I mean, I met you without even meeting you. I met you through someone.
Yes.
Because me and you are both magnets. We attract positive people in our lives, and that's how we met, So I really do believe that people settle because they just don't understand how much is out there for them.
So true, man. I've been telling people recently, limitations are for credit cards.
Ooh, I love that.
You really kind of need to lift those limits.
I love that. I'm just so you know, I'm writing this down and stealing it. I just want to tell you, I steal all the time. So it's a form of flattery. So I'm just going to steal that one. I love that.
So tell us a little bit more about your summit.
Sure. So while I was at the Tony Robbins seminar in December, that was the second one I went to in about 3 or 4 months. I was in one the summer before, and I noticed something being at this seminar. And when you go to any seminar, you're in a bubble. So it kind of makes you feel that you can tackle the world for that 2 or 3 days. And then you go home and you're out your bubble and life happens. Like, you know, you got kids, you got
That's
jobs, you know, and all that positive stuff that you just heard. You're like, wait a second, this kid just threw up on me. I'm late for work. Like, you forget everything, you know? So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, well, why not run something of my own, but why not make it a little bit different? Instead of just having people come up and speak, why not have speakers from all different races, genders, ethnicities, whatever, like the world's supposed to look like, be part of the dais? And then why not have a give back component? So instead of just sitting down and talking about changing the world, why don't we take a day
and go change the world
and change it? I have if I have two people at my disposal that are talking about change, then let's go do it. You know, so I'm always someone that's like, let's roll up our sleeves and get dirty. Like, I never want to sit here and talk to you from the couch about, Steven, me and you are going to change something. And I'm going to sit here on the couch and eat bonbons and hopefully it happens. You know, it's not going to happen that way. So I wanted to have that give back component and have, amazing speakers and have people that are going to give you value. But I also want to make people realize, like, dude, it's not about just you. You might think that you're coming here for self-development, and you are in some aspect, but it's also about other people. And if you're serious about making a change, you have to make the change in yourself, but why not impact another life while you're doing it?
Right.
That's what I think is going to make the Positivity Summit just so different. And the group that I have, it's such an eclectic group of speakers. I mean, we have a couple people from England, we have people from Vegas, LA, New York, you know, and it's just all different kind of people. It's like the way the world should look. And we're all going to coexist and, you know, rock this stage. And then I'm going to put people on 4 charter buses. We're going to go to an unnamed location. That's a surprise. And we're going to go out and spread the love and cause a ripple effect that's going to last for a very long time.
Dude, I love that. That's awesome. That's really exciting. That is very different than anything I've really heard. And to your point, it's so true. You know, I just got back from a conference a couple weeks ago, and you know, you're spot on. I mean, every time you attend a conference, you know, you come home high on inspiration and, you know, all this knowledge. And, you know, it's like, hey, you know, as you said, as a dad, it's like, hey, I still got a dirty diaper for you to change. Come on over here.
Like as soon as you walk back in the house, too.
Steal those thoughts from you.
As soon as you walk back in the house, I mean, you have a 2-year-old. The diaper is in hand. Like,
right.
Hey, great to see you, babe. Guess what I've been with all day for the last 2 days while you've been gone. Take care of this. You know, it's a thing that I think some people that are naysayers to workshops, I think it's one of the things that makes them a naysayer, because they might go to a workshop and then when they go home, they don't know how to transfer that energy and sustain that energy. So it's kind of, they go home, they're like, well, that was great. Now I'm back being negative again, or now I'm back, you know, going to the same dead-end job. And I think when you give to people, the feeling never goes away. You know, I'm going to come home and I'm still going to have my kids. I'm still going to have things that happen that, you know, some adverse situations that happen to me. We all are. But that feeling of giving to someone else that needed it, that never goes away. No matter how hard you try to suppress it, it's always there.
Right. And I think, too, you know, to even piggyback on that, I mean, we could stay at home right now and go say, okay, you know, we're going to go volunteer. Mm-hmm. You probably take part in a volunteer activity of some sort in your own community, but I think you're talking about being in an environment where there's community and there is a sense of doing stuff together within that environment and giving on top of it. I guess, you know, speak to that for a second, because why do I take time off, right?
Yeah.
Why, you know, I'm still working full time, right? So why do I take PTO from work, right? The person listening to this right now, you know, share with them what's different about Positivity Summit that would be different than me just giving somewhere locally.
Sure. The difference is this. The difference is, and I think you touched on a little bit, but you're 100%.
Yeah.
You know, coming from a basketball background, I am all about teamwork. You know, people say teamwork makes the dream work, and et cetera, et cetera. And there's, you know, it's we and not me, and any other anecdote you want to use. I think the difference between the Positivity Summit is when you go to these workshops, you meet the person to the left of you and you meet the person to the right of you. In this one, you're going to be getting dirty, like getting your jersey dirty with everybody. Like, you're going to know every single person's name. And there's only 200 people, every person's name. And you can't, Steven, you're powerful. You know, I'm powerful, but there's no way we can change the planet by ourselves. Right. There's no way. So we have to recruit. And for me, the Positivity Summit is a call to a movement that is going to be so big. There's going to, mark my words on this, we'll go back, me and you will go back to this, you know, a couple years down the road, where we're going to have an annual give back day. Like, they're going to give back day. And I'm going to say I was on the Blazers podcast. You're going to be too big to even talk to me by then. But if you,
whatever, man,
if you still talk to me, you know, I was on the Trailblazers, you know, podcast with my man, Stephen Hart. And I said, we're going to have a give back day. And now look, this is National Give Back Day. You know, so I think just being in that environment with people that want change, and then just going out as a team and doing it together. You know, that movie 300 came out and everybody loved the effects and all that other stuff. The thing I loved about the movie 300 is how they battled together. Like, I couldn't move an inch without you moving an inch. And there's this African phrase called Ubuntu. And it means we are because of one another. Like, I'm only as good as you are, and you are as good as I am. And that is the theme for the summit. We're only as good as each other. You know, so let's go make each other better, and let's make the world a better place together.
Right. Nice. Dude, I'm excited for you. I'm grateful that you have this opportunity and that you are taking action on it and seeing it through. And I look forward to seeing what transpires, what stories come of this secret activity that you have planned. Yeah. Exciting. So tell me, you know, man, you've moved from, in this talk, we've seen your journey through you pushing through these walls that came your way. You've authored, you know, books, and now you're doing events and all this. What do you do to actually push yourself to new and higher heights and keep from really getting caught in comfort zones with your work?
What I do out of work really helps me for work. So I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 9.5 years under Renzo Gracie. And literally, jiu-jitsu is it is like it's human chess, pretty much, and you can never ever master it, ever. Wow. And I also do yoga, and it's the same thing. You can never ever master yoga. You're always a student in jiu-jitsu. You're always a student in yoga. It's just something that pushes you to the point where you're egoless. You can't have an ego if you do it. You're gonna get too frustrated and stop doing it. So those activities really center me. And anything that makes my mind, makes me question, okay, how are you going to get out of this? Or, man, can you get through this pose while this old lady in front of you does it flawlessly? What? What you're shaking like a leaf right now. Are you going to cry? What's happening? So those things really center me, and it really sets me throughout my day. Because I feel like if people have been trying to choke me out for the last hour and a half, how hard can the rest of my day be? You know, if it's 120 degrees in here and I'm holding some animal pose forever and I feel like I'm about to die, how hard is my day going to be? So I always set the bar higher than anybody else will ever set it for me. And that's my goal. I had a blog a long time ago called The High Jump. And I shared the story how I was a senior in high school. It was my first time doing a high jump. I was a basketball player, and I was jumping over 5'10". And I'm like, man, I'm winning all these dual meets. It's 5'10". I'm in high school, so I'm beating most of the kids. And we had this meet against this high school. I'll never forget, Hanover Park. And I jumped over 5'10". And everybody's like, oh my gosh, man, this guy is good. And I'm like, my swagger level's 7,000. I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. And I look to the right of me, and there's this tall dude, and he has on a warm-up jacket. And he's at 6'2".
Wow.
He just was jumping. He was just waiting. He was waiting to see if anybody would even get to 6'2", so he can start his jumping. there are people who have a higher bar than me. So I want to make sure to set the bar for myself so high where I never have someone take off their warm-up jacket after I'm already done.
That's a classic. I love these stories, man. They're great.
I got a ton of them, man. I have such a great memory when it comes to these things because every little thing I look at as a learning experience, even before the positivity stuff, everything that's happened in my life. I mean, my mom sometimes, she's like, how did you remember this? You were like 4. And I was like, I don't know, Mom. I just remember it. You know, I think that we have our memories for a reason. There's some things that just are ingrained in us that aren't going anywhere. And that is a story that I will share with my kids, their kids,
right,
as long as I can.
So, Cornell, we both know, right, from a business standpoint, we're both entrepreneurs. Yep. That we can both agree to.
Sure.
Oftentimes, we don't take into account, just how much our wives and our families are part of the success or failures of these endeavors that we jump into, right?
Yep.
How are you able to get your family to buy into your big entrepreneurial dreams?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And I will say it right now. All the success that I've had to this point and to the success I'm going to have after this point wouldn't be possible without my wife. Mm-hmm. And having kids, like you do as well, we know that when we're gone, they hold it down for us.
That's right.
I mean, they hold the house together. And when we come back, I mean, it's easy for us to get on a plane and speak or get on a plane and go to a workshop that's going to be empowering and then come back home, and they've gone through war, with the 2 kids or 3 kids, or whatever they have it. So for me, I think having an open line of communication is so important. And I used to go about kind of just keeping my dreams to myself and just saying, hey, babe, I'll show you, and not sharing them. And she was in the dark. And I'll never forget, this is pivotal a couple of years ago, where she's like, why don't you tell me where you're going? Like, why don't you tell me where your mind is taking you? Like, what are you thinking? And I was like, I didn't want to bog you down. She's like, no, I want to know, like, what do you want to do with it? And I sat down and had a conversation. And I said, I shared my to-do list with her. I said, this is what I want to do. I said, your husband is going to help change the planet. And I said, this is how I'm going to do it. And I showed her my action steps and how I'm going to do it. And it makes it so much easier because now when I say, hey, babe, I got to go on a plane. I went to San Jose for a day and a half. I said to meet a network, a connector, like yourself. And when I say that now, she realizes it's all part of the big plan. So communication is so key, and don't keep them in the dark, and never you're successful without them, because without them, you would not be successful.
That's right. Absolutely right. So that said, how do you define success?
To me, I define a success someone who is doing what they love every single day and getting paid for it, and helping others while they're doing their passion or whatever their passion is. So it's a couple things. It's doing what you love, it's getting compensated for it, and it's helping others on your mission.
Wow, that's great. What are you most grateful for in life right now?
Oh, my family. Not even close. My family. My son and my daughter and my wife, they're honestly, that's what I thank the universe for every day. There's people that have gratitude practices that before they go to sleep, they write down what they're grateful for, which is a great idea, great practice. My family's always on the top. Even on the worst days, it's my family, because they have really changed who I was, helped me evolve as a person. You never know love until you hold your kid in your arms for the first time. And it's changed who I am. I mean, there was 2 years ago, the Super Bowl had 4 father-son commercials in a row, and I teared up on every single freaking. What the hell are you doing to me, Budweiser? Like it's so powerful, and my family is that. That's what I'm most grateful for every day.
Interesting you share that. Today I was listening to a podcast with one of my favorite podcasts is Lewis Howe's The School of Greatness.
Okay.
And I was actually listening to an episode he did with a musical group, Cruella. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he had asked one of the sisters to define success. And she said, success is defined by the happiness of your kids.
Ooh. Love it.
And I was like, wow, like, you know, it really kind of just threw a curveball at that, right?
Yeah.
You know, everyone goes for wealth in a different light, you know, but think of that wealth.
Yeah, that's huge. Right. Was he just blown away? I mean, there had to be like a 30-second silence after that. That's the, you know, they just got a new listener. I don't know what they sing, but I'm gonna have to go check them out. Cruella. Check out just for that answer alone.
I'll share the episode with you.
I appreciate it.
For sure. You know, man, you've poured out so much wisdom tonight in this episode, and you know, this is the part of our show that we like to have you share some resources that might help us take a step forward, right, on our own journey.
Yeah.
So, what's one book you've read in the past year that's inspired you most?
I would say one book that is really just unbelievable is a book called How to Be Interesting by Jessica Hagee.
How to Be Interesting.
How to Be Interesting by Jessica Hagee. I want to share two. I really do want to.
Sure, go ahead.
There's another one, The Art of Nonconformity, and that's by Chris, and I'm just going to spell his name because I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Guilebereau. And those two books, the How to Be Interesting by Jessica Hagee and The Art of Nonconformity, those two books are just two amazing books. And they're not, you know, super long, they're short reads. I just loved it. I mean, the Jessica Hagee book, she used it's almost like she's using like math equation graphs. It's just cool. Like I pick them up. Like she has one line in there and she says something like, not everyone's going to understand you. Not everyone's going to embrace you. Not everyone's going to appreciate you. And that's okay. You know, like just simple things like that on a page that I like people that, and that's the way I write. I write in layman's terms. I don't use $1 million words just to appease my ego and make people think that, oh, he's really smart. I write stuff where anybody can pick it up. If my book fell in a trash can and someone picked it up that was in 6th grade, 7th grade, they can read it and at least understand the words and concepts.
Right. That's good. That's important, man. That's the important part, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And connect it. So what's something small you've done this month that you're proud of?
Something small that I've done this month that I'm proud of. I spoke in Brooklyn this past weekend to a Weight Watchers group.
Wow.
And it was very interesting because they were, you know, loving it and they were amped up, but one lady thought that I was part of Weight Watchers, so she kept asking me about the point system. Like right in the middle of the speech, she was like, "How do you get 20 points?" She's an older lady, God bless her. But she's like, "How do you get 20 points?" And I was like, you know, I just go with it. I'm like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm not part of Weight Watchers, but you know, I'm just speaking to." And she's like, "So how's the point system work?" And it just really, like, I'm telling you, Stephen, I mean, some people, you know, speakers are like, they get caught off guard. I love crazy stuff like that. Like when I speak and nutty stuff happens, it just makes me laugh because I just go with it. You know, I just kind of improv and go off the script. So I got a chance to talk to a couple of really cool people that this past weekend. One lady who just lost her husband about 3.5 months ago, and we had an unbelievable conversation. I gave her my information, told her to reach out to me so we can talk some more. And just kind of helping her guide that path and her new path. And I tell people all the time, when I talk about positivity, I'm not saying it like a deity. I'm not saying it like I'm on some mountain. Positivity is not the absence of human emotion. It is okay to mourn. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to get upset sometimes. Positivity is not living in that negative emotion. That's what positivity is. And we just had a great conversation. Being able to share some words with her and talk with her was great.
That's awesome. Cornell, name an online resource. It could be an app, software, or tool that you use every day that you can't live without.
Online, I would say it would have to be that I can't live without. I'd say Twitter, maybe.
You use Twitter a lot?
I use Twitter that's how I post my quotes. I post them on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook every day. So I feel like I would have to use them just because I want people to wake up and be inspired. So those are the social media platforms that I use every day just to post the quotes.
We definitely will have you share those links here in a second. Before we wrap up, I just want to invite you to take a couple minutes and impart an inspiring message, a positive message that will help our listeners to elevate their game and blaze their trail.
Sure. Well, I will tell you this, and I will have a chapter. There's a chapter in my upcoming book that's going to be out in September, and it's called I've Been There. And I go through all of the things that I've been through currently in the past, all the adversity that I've fought through and have gotten to where I am right now. And I'm letting you know that you're going to have some battle scars. You're going to have some bruises. When you're a dream chaser, when you're a trailblazer, there are going to be plenty of obstacles that are going to come in your way. But despite that, understand that there's not one good movie, not one good comeback story that starts off with with no antagonist. That starts off with a smooth road.
Right.
The road less traveled is always the road to greatness, because there's never any headlights on that road. That's the road that's not smooth. That's the road where things are going to happen. They're going to kind of push you back to the starting line again. But that's
love that. Love that. Cornell, how will the world be different because you are here?
Well, first and foremost, through my kids. They're going to be raised the right way and to be accepting and love everyone and not judge a book by its color. And secondly, through the Positivity Summits, it's going to be something that is going to be around long after I'm gone. My father, they just named a street after my father 3 years ago in the city of Passaic, New Jersey, Bobby Thomas Way. And he passed away 37 years ago. So that the Positivity Summit is going to be something long after I'm gone. People are still going to be doing it. People are still going to be helping each other and loving each other. And that's something that I'm going to be extremely proud of.
I'm so happy that Amy facilitated this introduction, and big up Amy. And, I just want to say thanks, man, for coming on the podcast and just sharing your wisdom and your journey and so many stories that have happened along the way to bring you to the point where you are right now. And I'm happy to help facilitate this, capturing this milestone and this point that you are at right now, because you're kind of at a sweet spot where you're about to pivot to a new high.
Yeah.
That I feel is going to come from the summit. I'm really excited about what new chapter that brings.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, you have another book coming out, which is awesome as well. So, tell us, before we let you go, tell us how we can stay connected to you and how we can get more information about the summit.
Sure. Well, stay connected with me through social media. I'm on Facebook. It's easy. Cornell Thomas. On Instagram, Cornell Thomas 34. On Twitter, it's at Cornell Thomas. I'm not very creative with my names. And if you go to www.5starters.com, you get a free video. I call it my 5 starters of positivity. And to learn more about the Positivity Summit, it's cornell-thomas.com/positivity.summit, or you can just go to cornell-thomas.com and click on events, and the Positivity Summit's there, registration's there, and I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to bribe Stephen Hart to get away for 2.5 days to come to it. So, if they have that trailblazer there, I know for a fact we'll fill it up in about another week or two. So come out and join the movement.
There you go. For everyone listening, I'm going to post links to all the resources and web links that we discussed in today's episode on our show notes page at tbpod.com/Cornell Thomas. Cornell, thanks again, man. I really appreciate having you on. You're a part of the Trailblazer family now.
Love it.
We look forward to having you back on again at some future point.
Anytime you need me, I can't thank you enough. Me and you could have probably talked for another 9 hours.
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough. It's an honor for me to be on the Trailblazers family, and anything you guys ever need from me, I'm a phone call, text away.
Awesome. Thanks again, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Trailblazers podcast. I'll be posting links to all of the book recommendations and resources that were mentioned from today's episode on our show notes page at tbpod.com. If today was your first time listening to the podcast, I just want to say welcome. We are so happy to have you here. We encourage you to hit that subscribe button on your iTunes app or in whatever app you're listening to the podcast right now. Then I want you to go back and browse through some of our past episodes. Some really amazing episodes are back there. If you're a fan of the podcast and today's content and you're already subscribed, I would really appreciate you continuing to share and invite your friends, family, and colleagues to listen to an episode that you think might impact them most. We believe that someone listening to these inspiring stories will be moved to make significant changes that will have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Don't miss next week's episode. New episodes are released each and every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Trailblazers, jump off this podcast today. I want you to go find a way to rise above, go way beyond, and keep blazing your trail. Cheers.